Waiting to see if YouTube kicks on here. All right. Looks like we are live,
Awesome.
but I am not seeing any video. There we go. All right. So, my name's Chris, and this is the first episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Nerdy. So let me introduce my guest host here. To the side of me is my buddy Steven. Steven, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good? It's a lovely Saturday morning. I could see outside your window that it is quite bright in the state of Arizona. And then down below us, we've got Avery. Avery, how you doing?
I'm doing great today. Sadly, I have no video of my face to show how pretty it is over here.
Are you in a dark room or a well-lit room?
I would say a well-lit room with a very talkative cat right now.
Okay. Yeah, mine aren't here yet, and Steven has 100 dogs, so I'm sure we'll have pet moments.
Awesome. Love it.
Oh, if someone knocks on the door, you'll know it.
So Steve brought up something interesting while we were waiting to get this thing started. You want to share that picture, Steven? We've got a game for you, Avery.
Awesome.
This is a bit of randomness here. In this picture, I would like you to pick out what doesn't belong.
Okay. Oh, good old Zuckerberg.
Yeah, just a picture of Mark Zuckerberg.
It's not the lizard person, by the way.
No, he looks more like a data
Data
guy. Yeah.
Have you watched the Meta presentation yet?
I have, yeah.
Is that what this is?
This is the Meta presentation. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This was that present. Okay.
Yeah. He upgraded the emotion chip.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
So, but anyways, do you notice anything, or have you heard anything about this particular image?
I have not, but I can already see there's a random barbecue sauce just chilling by the bookcase over there. Like, what? That is so random.
Well, you don't keep your barbecue sauce in your living room next to your books?
I mean, I guess I do like a good seasoning to put on my books when I'm reading it. Kind of just spices it up a bit. So, I mean, I guess I should follow Mr. Zuckerberg. He might be onto something.
He might be onto something. I mean,
do you think he did that on purpose just to take over the internet for a day?
Just to troll?
Yeah.
It's nice, Steve. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the major CEO of a major company or anything, but
right.
That's where I've kept mine for years.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know. It must be a book collecting thing. Like when you're reading a book, it's just sometimes you just got to spice it up a bit, right?
It needs some Sweet Baby Ray's.
Sweet Baby Ray's all the way.
Though I am.
We're not sponsored by Sweet Baby Ray's, by the way.
Right. I am happy to see though Zuckerberg's choice of barbecue is Sweet Baby Ray's. I mean,
yeah,
cool. Yes, me too.
That is impressive. I had a friend introduce me to Sweet Baby Ray's probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, and I've just never looked back.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Unless you make your own. I have made my own barbecue sauce, and then it is obviously better.
I do like making my own, but also that's a little more time consuming than I want to be sometimes. Anyway, so let's get into this. So the first thing I would like to talk about, unfortunately, I'm not going to show it because I don't want Rockstar coming after us.
Right.
But it's the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. Are they calling it a remake or a what is the technical term? Because it's not like a complete remake. They're just upgrading it.
Yeah, I would say it's funny. I actually had a conversation about this a couple of days ago about a remake versus a remaster. Yeah. And a remake usually entails more than just a graphical change, but more of just like hardware changes. A lot of just advanced settings that are changed within the remake of the game. And then for a remaster, it's more of just graphical changes and then just some cleanup, some in-house cleanup for like the modern day. So I feel like with the new trilogy, like I feel like it's more like a remaster than a remake.
Okay. And like, whereas the Knights of the Old Republic's going to be a remake.
Right.
That'll be a big conversation for later.
Oh, I'm waiting for that one.
Completely
one of the greatest
different
games ever made in the last 10 years. So that will warrant its own.
That was the game. Okay, that was the game that made me fall in love with storytelling in video games. The story for Knights of the Old Republic just nailed me, and I was like, oh, now I'm stuck. I'm hooked on video games.
Right.
But so the Grand Theft Auto thing, this is a remaster. They're just updating graphics, and so I played the crap out of Grand Theft Auto 3.
Okay.
I played the holy crap out of Vice City. Like, I spent so much time in Vice City. And then I played a lot of San Andreas, and then I met a girl and quit playing video games for a few months and then just never went back. So I've spent a lot of time in these games, and I loved all of them back then. And I'm watching this trailer, and I'm seeing what they're doing, and like, it looks a little bit better. It's kind of more. It's actually more cartoony to me. But I don't think I care.
The games were a little cartoony. That was just the nature of the graphics that they had at the time.
Yeah, so, the PlayStation 2,
yeah, they didn't go the way of bringing it up into GTA 5, but they left some of the cartooniness of it, which with Vice City, it's understandable. It was pretty garish.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd say the same for the other two. But I have no interest in buying this. It's like I played those games. I enjoyed the hell out of them. It's over. Like, let's move on.
Right.
What do you guys think?
So when I saw it's actually funny. I didn't even know they were making a trilogy remake until like last week. Saw the trailer for it on YouTube, and I was all like, oh wow, this is happening. Like, Rockstar is actually doing this, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think this is like the first time they've actually done any sort of remaster or remake for the old games, right?
Yes.
Actually, I believe they did some graphical updates when they released Red Dead Redemption 1 on the Xbox system.
Okay.
Okay.
But it wasn't major, and they didn't title it a remake or a remaster. It was just, I think it was just some graphical
just a graphical update. Okay. Yeah, and to your point, Chris, how you're saying, with how the graphics look, it's still more on the side of the cartoony, and I think that's definitely an aesthetic choice they stuck with, just based off just the time of it was, especially with Vice City, right? Like, I feel if that was more in the realms of GTA 5 graphics, it would look off-putting,
Yeah, you're probably not wrong, but I would. If they did a remake of Vice City, I'd probably be a hell of a lot more interested.
Definitely. And that's one of the key things I think that I was expecting, as far as seeing a new definitive edition, is not just a remaster, but like a remake, right? Like, seeing Vice City upgraded to GTA 5 settings and controls, and just the quality of life, having that integrated with Vice City, I think would just enhance the wanting to go back and play those games over, versus like, oh, we splashed some new graphics on it, and just did some little minor quality of life changes, but for the most part, it's still Vice City that you played 10 plus years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be awesome, because it felt like you were freaking Scarface playing that game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Speaking of Scarface, have you guys ever played the Scarface game?
No, I never played that one.
Sadly, it's really hard to play now, because it's just, there's like no computer alive right now that can play it correctly without it just crashing completely. Like, there's so many bugs on the PC side of it. It's ridiculous.
What if you had like a PlayStation 2 emulator?
Probably. I did recently tried it on my Xbox 360, and it didn't age very well, so I got immediately bored.
Would you say it was kind of more like maybe in the same vein as a Mafia game?
Yes, I would say it was in the same realm. You definitely felt like Scarface. You definitely felt, you upgraded your house. You were selling drugs. You were just this, money laundering, the whole nine yards. It was a really, really fun experience, but definitely like a early stage mafia game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing it and was thinking, this kind of looks like Mafia. And then it was Scarface, and I was like, fine with it. I just never got it. So are you interested in purchasing the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, Avery?
I am somewhat interested only because I played the crap out of San Andreas. I'm more interested for San Andreas. That's kind of just ingrained into my childhood, as playing it as a kid, especially when my mom didn't know exactly what she was getting into when she bought that game for me. And during the times, whether if they were cussing or if I was going in the back alley and picking up a hooker so I can get one off real quick and they get out the car to go kill her. Yeah, I had to kind of mute it.
That's right. I always forget. You're a good bit younger than I am, because I was like a senior in high school playing Vice City. Like,
wow.
I won't go into what age I was when these games came out.
Yeah, because I think, let me see, when did San Andreas come out? Like 2004?
I was like 21.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like 21, maybe 22 when it came out.
Yeah, I was like 14.
Yeah, God. No, I was at the bar. Like,
okay, that's awesome.
What about you? I just turned 30 when San Andreas came out.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Are you going to pick it up, Steven? Do you think you would have any, if you were to get this, would you think you could fit it into your video game time that you have?
Well, define video game time. I have no problem finding time to go buy video games, as my video game shelf will tell you.
So I understand your
actual video game time playing.
Yes, your limited time, because you can only play so much. Would you actually? Would this be something you turn on?
Honestly, I will probably pick it up. I don't know that I'll pick it up at launch at full price.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
But, down the road, maybe 3 months down the road, if the price drops a little bit, I'll add it on. I've got some websites where they help you search for deals on games and stuff. I imagine during Black Friday that weekend, it'll drop in price. You pick it up. If I can pick it up for $40, yeah. Because there's some nostalgia there. Like you said, you guys remember playing it as kids. I remember, we'd all go over to a friend's house and we'd play Vice City or San Andreas, and I played quite a bit of it. But honestly, I didn't have a PlayStation 2 at the time. I was an Xbox person, so I didn't play any of these games really. I think I played Vice City more than any of them. Growing up in the 80s, it's funny. You say San Andreas because it came out, portraying the 90s when you guys were kids. Well, for me, Vice City was the 80s. That was when I was a kid. So,
Okay. So pretty much, seeing that the bright neon aesthetics and the bright shirts and floral patterns, that was like, oh, I'm living this.
Well, I grew up in the 80s, but I didn't grow up in the 80s in Miami. So
Miami, yeah.
There's a little bit of difference. I was in Phoenix at the time.
In Cocaine Land? You didn't grow up in Cocaine Land?
No, I did not. Well, yeah, no. So it's a buy for me, but it's not a buy at $60. They fooled me once. I bought the Final Fantasy remaster, and I played that. It's only half the game, and I'll be honest, it was a lot of fun and it was nostalgia. It wasn't nostalgia at $70.
And yeah, I would have to agree with you, because I did the same thing, right? I was on the Final Fantasy VII hype train, and as soon as it was ready for purchase, I bought it immediately, bought the special edition, the whole 9 yards, and spent way more than I probably should have. And I actually didn't touch the game for a whole year because I was thinking that, all right, I gotta save some time, put some time away to play this game, because I'm thinking like, oh, this is the full Final Fantasy VII game. And then one of my friends told me like, oh, nah, bro, this is only like a quarter I was like, what? It was like, yeah, this is maybe like a third or a quarter, like it's not even a full game. And so I was just immediately cut off from it. Like, I'm never playing this. This is a ridiculous purchase. And, you know, and then I finally played it, and yeah, like it was good, but definitely not 70, or I think I spent like 90. It was not $90 worth it.
Oh yeah, definitely was not $90 worth it. Unless you got a black mage with it, it was not worth it.
Right.
And I'm not talking like a figurine. I'm talking like an actual black mage that would follow you around and cast spells on your enemies.
Right. Yeah. And then I think, Chris, you said you haven't played it, right? The Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I've played... So I want to say it eventually came out free on the PlayStation.
It did. Let's also not bring that up, because Avery and I will probably be really, really upset about that part.
Right.
So, yeah, I've probably played 3 or 4 hours, maybe.
Okay.
You know, I've been down in the slums, and I don't remember the last thing I did. It's been a few months. I got a new computer and quit playing the PlayStation.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, I enjoyed it, and then I have a confession.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play the original.
Ooh.
What?
Wow.
I know. So back when
We need you to go back to the 90s. Do that.
Right, back when the PlayStation 2 was the thing, and I know. But like I was playing, I tried 9, I tried 10, X2, and I even tried.
Terrible.
Yeah, I even tried. Right. Well, the one with the Blitzball was okay.
No,
10,
that was terrible.
And then the one, and then I also did the one with that freaking cool ass Black Mage Vivi or whatever.
Yeah,
with the monkey
10.
people.
Oh, okay.
Like that one was all right, but I just never finished it. I didn't like the I don't like the real time stuff.
Okay. You know,
the first Final Fantasy game I beat was 14.
Oh, okay.
And that was terrible.
Yeah, I'm about to say out of all of those you said, that the one you finished, that's
Yep. Nope, that one was terrible.
Bottom of the barrel.
and the last battle, stupid. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I was just kicking his ass.
Right.
Like, all right, whatever.
Right. That's
I think I stopped playing on 13. I didn't play another one until Final Fantasy Bro Trip came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Well, I mean, they started doing like 13, 13X, 13XA. They started using the Microsoft numbering system.
Right. And then they started doing like Final Fantasy Online, and I think that was it was a number.
Yeah.
I actually have to envy you, Chris, that you did not play the original Final Fantasy VII and then going in and playing the remaster, because you're coming in with a very fresh pair of eyes and none of the nostalgia eyes, right? So you're going in fresh, like I'm pretty sure you knew the characters, but like as far as how the game, how the story was, you're coming in fresh, and I think that's great.
I think I did try playing 7 because Katrina loved 7. She'd like, that's her favorite video game, and I wanted to check it out, and so I would try and play it, and I think the furthest I ever got is where this one ends.
Okay, so when they're leaving,
I might have a lot to say when the next one comes out.
Sure.
And actually, that could be rather interesting for you guys who have already beaten it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, that's now you bring that up, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and also, so for correction, I just use our old Google machine. So Final Fantasy 15 is the Bro Fantasy.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the one I beat.
Yeah, 14 was their online one.
And that's the one that everyone's playing right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 9 is the actual last Final Fantasy that I played all the way through beginning to end.
Oh,
if you take out Final Fantasy Tactics, which is the only reason why I still have a PlayStation 1, so that I could play Tactics every once in a while.
Oh, I thought they had that on the PlayStation 2 as well.
They do not. That was a different game, and it was terrible.
Disgaea. Is it called Disgaea?
Yeah, I think so. It was not as cool as the original Tactics. I think they also made a mobile phone version of the game, because everybody has cell phones.
Everyone has, yeah.
Everyone has cell phones, and you can buy our gold coins and
Exactly.
dust.
Mobile games. It's crazy to think how far we've come with mobile games. Like, back in the days when first it was just we had the flip phones and we just had just a couple games like Snake. It was just
That's all
everything
I
was
need.
right. And the same, that's all I needed. And then all of a sudden phones had color and screens, and then you had like these very low 8-bit, 16-bit chip games on there you can play. Like one of my favorite games I played a lot on my phone was actually it was like a drug dealer. You're like a drug dealer, and you would go around different cities and just sell drugs. It was so simple, but I liked it.
Was it text based?
Yes,
I did. I had something like that too. What was that called?
I vaguely remember that game.
Yeah. It was a very popular game on the mobile device. I don't know. I guess everyone just wanted in the early 2000s wanted to be drug dealers.
Do you remember those lame ass games you could load up on your MySpace or whatever?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like they had something like that too.
Yeah.
Someone's yelling at the dogs.
Yeah, I'm surprised my cat hasn't jumped on top of my chair and be like, love me, show me attention, something. Like, I'm busy, bro, leave me alone.
Yeah, so I left the front door open with, the screen door closed, obviously. And hopefully that's been enough of a distraction for them. But it hasn't worked for a few days. Oh, I like how Steve changed got his little logo to that. I have no idea how to even change that on this software. I haven't spent any time with that at all. I don't even know how to shut off my camera for this crap.
I practiced a little bit of it because I figured at some point I was going to have to get up and shut the door for the dogs. Yeah. Or the wife.
Or the wife. You have to shut the wife up.
The wife is up and yelling at the dogs. And making bacon, from what I can tell.
Ooh, awesome.
Well, lucky man.
It. Yeah.
So, speaking of Dune, let's talk about it. We all went to go see it last week, and we tried our damnedest to not talk about it at all when we left, because that's really difficult.
Right.
So my first question for you guys is, have you watched it since?
I have.
I've done quick snippets.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I watched it twice while I was working.
Okay.
And that's where I got a lot of my notes. So I might have missed some things. Also, full confession, everyone, I was sleeping during the movie. I had a little bit to drink the night before. Yeah.
I'm
thinking of going back and seeing it. Maybe this weekend or next.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I heard you. I heard you sleeping.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Had a late night. So I've got some questions about the show. Let's start off without going into too much detail. What did you think, Steve?
I mean, as far as the movie goes, it was a great movie. Visually, the director does a good job of giving you that expansive universe that the books have. I've seen it 3 times now, not in the theater, obviously. I watched it on HBO Max twice, and then I saw it in the theater with you guys the one time. It's held up. There are, and we'll go into this later, there are some issues I have with it, but I mean, overall, they did a good movie that people that have not read the book can go and feel like they've seen the full experience. Well, they've seen half of the experience of the book.
You think it's half the book?
Oh, it's definitely half the book.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was half or maybe a third.
Yeah, no, it cuts out. Well, okay.
It's a big book, isn't it?
It is a big book. It is half of the book that is going to make it into the movie. There's a lot of stuff. If you've ever read a book, there's lots of stuff in the books that just never would translate well into an actual movie. Gurney Halleck playing the Balasad, for one thing. While it's really cool in the book to show the character having that not only a master tactician on the battlefield, but he's also a musician and a poet. Mm-hmm. That's interesting character development, but it would probably be kind of boring to watch on a big screen, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Avery?
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. As a person who is a huge just visual nerd, being in the industry that I am as a designer, I love everything visually about Dune. My mouth, and you probably didn't notice because you were asleep, Chris, but my mouth was pretty my mouth was pretty much just open the whole time and just amazed of just how visually pleasing I was with everything. That's one thing I always look for in movies and cinematography. It's just how well is everything shot, how well is everything lit, and I feel the director worked really well with a cinematographer to make sure that everything was just good. And one thing I did notice, because I think this is the same director who also did Blade Runner 2049, is just how similar of just the shots he used in both Dune and Blade Runner. Like I felt the aesthetics was very, very similar. And to Steven's point, I feel like, as he was saying, you can watch this movie and not know anything about the books and still feel like you understand the setting that you're in for this movie. You understand, like, okay, this is what Dune is about. Okay, this is pretty much like you got space pirates, you got politics, you have the family dynamic of trying to be royalty. You got the Game of Thrones elements, and then you have so many elements that I feel a lot of people can come in here and be like, okay, I can not have to be a book nerd or a Dune nerd, as most people are, and still enjoy this movie.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with that. And we'll get into that. I liked it. It left me wanting more. Yeah. I was upset when it was over, and even though I missed, I was like, now I have to wait. And to top it off, when we saw this, and even the last 2 times that I saw it, we didn't know if it was getting a sequel. They finally greenlit that, like, what, Wednesday?
Yes, and and I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut, and I'm glad they did. And I agree with you, Chris. It's so a lot of Hollywood and movies these days, right? It's the whole, they're trying to make this huge expanded universe and make half a movie or a third of a movie without knowing. A franchise without knowing if we're going to have another one, right? So now you're left with wanting more, and then say, uh-oh, it didn't get green lit. Now it's like we got left on a cliffhanger, and now we're just upset, right?
I think a lot of the diehard Dune fans that love this movie would have been livid if they didn't get the rest of it.
The second half.
Yeah.
And it's really a series of, I think, 13 to maybe 20 books if you count his son's books. The Dune universe is quite expansive in the book form. I think you have to at least do the entire first book, potentially, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later as we talk about the film, but they foreshadow events that are not in the first book but become pivotal in the later books, when, like, God Emperor of Dune and stuff. He has that vision where he sees the Fremen in the white and the gold suits. That's not in the original Dune book. Him having the vision where he sees a holy war in his name, and people worshiping at the skull of his father. He mentions all that. Well, that all happens later in the other books, but they foreshadow that, and they lead into his desire to become the Duke. But his fear of becoming, the Kwisatz Haderach, and becoming that, the holy war in his name and his father's name. And they really play really well in that. So.
Yeah.
So I have some questions about this movie. The first one is rather basic. I have something I would like to share. Okay. Let's see how I can do this here.
You got this, Chris. I believe in you.
You know, like everyone's been on this Zoom lifestyle, and I haven't had to do that. My job just doesn't have it. Like, just doesn't require all that much. So let's see if this actually works, because I tried it with some other software, and HBO was like, F you. All right, so you can see it.
Nice. Well done.
My first question: what the hell is this thing?
Oh, his little Navi orb looking thing that follows him around?
It looks like it's like, I can't recall if they addressed it in the movie or not, but it looks like it's just a nightlight that follows him around.
Mm-hmm.
What is
it's
this?
Totally a nightlight that follows him around. That's amazing.
Right.
I want one.
Right. It's funny. Yeah, I kind of, so you know, a confession to make myself. As far as the Dune books go, I've read the, you know, the first one, but it was a very long time ago.
Okay.
So my knowledge of, and I was, you know, like I think like middle school or high school, like it was just, I was stupid young, so my memory of recollection of anything in the book is almost non-existent. But I did have the same thought too. I was like, what is this thing that's following him around, and why did all of a sudden it's just not there anymore? Like when he, you know, when they're actually escaping and stuff. Like I thought it would just kind of be like a Navi thing where it's just it's this little guy,
like little AI thing.
Yeah.
No, and I want to say there were other characters that would randomly have one following them. Like I think his mom might have at one point in time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be making shit up, but no. And this thing was in several scenes. They never addressed it. It was just some floating light.
Well, the important thing to remember is in the universe of Dune, what's something you've never saw in any images of their bedrooms or anything, the War Council. They don't have computers. Technology is different in the universe of Dune. In replace of computers, they have mentats, which are never mentioned in one of my gripes. They never mention the word mentat, even though they have them. The characters that advise the Duke and the Baron with the little thing on their lip, which is also a change from the book. In the book, their lips are dyed purple from drinking a liquid made from the spice that gives them the ability to be human computers. Ah, there he is.
Wait, hold on.
No, not right there. That's the Duke.
Damn it. You click
and
on
whoever
it,
that guy is.
You click on the frame and it doesn't even go to the one that it doesn't. And of course, I can't use the arrows to freaking.
Of course not.
Oh my God! Come on. There we go. That guy.
There we go.
What did you say he was? A mentat?
He's a mentat. So these are the computers in the universe of Dune. Or Dune. You're gonna have to edit that one, Chris.
I'm not editing shit.
This is all that, buddy.
Yeah. So he actually has the ability, because of spice, to A, live longer, and B, to be their computers. He can calculate things. And you can see here, his eyes are rolled up in the back of his head while he's doing some calculation. I believe this is where he's calculating how much it costs for them to fly all of those people out from the Emperor's homeworld to do this fancy ceremony to transition control of Arrakis from House Harkonnen to House Atreides, which is billions and billions of their currency, which is astronomical amounts that only huge houses can afford to pay. But no mention of him being a mentat, no mention of the spice being what gives him his abilities, which is disappointing because they really kind of dropped the ball on why the spice is so important. In the books, spice is what allows space travel.
Right.
They don't really, they mention it in a voiceover, but they don't really explain that without it, they had to spend years sometimes hundreds of years traveling from planet to planet. Whereas once the spice was discovered, the navigators were able to kind of mutate and use the spice to fold space-time so that they could travel from one point to another point instantaneously. Now, in the 1980s film, they show the navigators and they explain it relatively well. In this, all they do is they talk about the navigators, which you see in this scene here, the guys with the copper masks over their face. Presumably those are the navigators. And what it looks like they do is they open up a bridge, an Einstein-Rosen bridge, between one space and another space, because you see all those ships flying through that big structure. I don't know if you can find it, Chris. It's right at the beginning of this scene, but they're flying through that structure. And if you look in a few scenes, you can see through that structure and you can see a planet on the other side. So that's kind of what I think they're implying here, but that's not really how it's explained in the book.
Right.
Yeah, no, I
don't know. As people that didn't read
this
book,
thing right here, but I like to get the view of the front of it. But yeah,
like I don't understand if maybe these things are in orbit around all the major planets, which would be useful for planets you already have. But in finding new planets, this kind of technology would be useless.
Right. Yeah.
So you saying that, how they might like use these things as a bridge, makes so much more sense than it just being a ship, because I felt it was kind of lacking in design if it was just some sort of ship. Because it looks like a space worm.
Yeah, I got that.
It does look like a worm. That's one of my first impressions.
Yeah, the same. It just looked like a big old worm, and most all of the spaceships that were being shown, and as far as the design, they're very aesthetically, they weren't as pleasing, right? They were very
very circular.
very blocky looking, just very, just metal on metal. No, there's no sleek lines. It was just right. It's a circle, right?
So it was almost like vintage space travel. Very, very like old looking, like definitely not like futuristic.
Yeah.
It's like like this particularly is how they would make a TV look in the 50s, because they thought that was sci-fi.
Right. That was how futuristic it would look. It's like, no, square TVs, that's rectangular TVs that's old news. It's circular TVs is the future.
Okay. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to say, like, which I'm glad, as far as future goes, we didn't go in a direction of having circular TVs. Like, I'm glad we stuck with the rectangular format.
Yeah. Oh, I bet, and that makes your job easier too.
It's much easier. Everything's a square.
So there was the next thing I want to talk about is actually at this part.
Okay.
This part right here, where he's sealing the document for whatever. And what I want to talk about is her and the Paul's mom. So another quick aside, I only know one character's name in this movie.
Okay.
Paul. They did a terrible job establishing, like, I know who the Baron is, and then I know who the Bene Gesserits are. And I know Arrakis and the Harkonnen and all of that stuff, but like as far as actual character names, I only know Paul's. I want to say that's like the only one that was actually said several times. Anyways, so
what? Duncan, Idaho.
Okay, Duncan.
I would say yeah. I'll say Duncan. So, yeah.
That is the fourth thing. I don't know if this will work. Yeah, it's just going to glare with all that light. But my fourth note is Duncan, Idaho, ? Greatest name for a character ever?
The answer is yes.
I'm just waiting for a crossover where Duncan, Idaho goes to find Tony Montana.
Okay. That's a
logical crossover that's going to happen. Or we find out that he's a descendant of Tony Montana.
Right.
Okay. And then there's just, and actually the family is actually just the states, and
Right.
they just have all the names.
Yeah, just
Okay.
all the last name is just states.
Okay. So my question about this scene here is
Okay.
after he puts his ring on and seals the wax and all of that, this woman starts, like looking at Paul's mom, and the movie does like this vibrating thing, which makes it seem like they could be vibrating each other, because by this point you've already seen the voice stuff with Paul and his mom. I'm like, so like we get to it where there's a thing with Paul and this old bat that takes place, and I feel like that's what they were trying to prepare you for, but like there's just this weird connection thing going on with the three of them, and I'm like, why is this happening now? Like there's no story behind it. Like I know you guys are all connected with your secret powers or whatever, but why is this what's happening?
Why at this moment?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, at first it was the first, I would say maybe 20-25 minutes, or maybe even 30 minutes. It was 2 hour and a half movie, were very jarring in the fact of just how much they're cramming in a sense of like, just Paul's mom's teaching him how to use his voice, and then and so one thing I did try to do watching this movie, I tried to disconnect myself from the book, right? I try to go in as in like, okay, this fresh pair of eyes, I'm a new person, never really read the books but heard about him, interested. And just like, if I was a new person, I saw this opening where this mother's teaching her son how to use this power, and in your head you're like, okay, what is that? Like what's going on? Is this like, what kind of ability is this? What is it? Mental? Is it like, what's going on? And then with this scene here, like you're saying, Chris, with the whole vibration, it's like, why is it at this moment it's happening? What's so special that at this point they gotta do the like resonating thing, as I call it?
Yeah.
You
got anything on it, Steve?
Well, I mean, my opinion of it is this: they're building the framework of the whole Bene Gesserit, and their place in the universe of Dune. They're doing it for two reasons. First of all, they've already announced it. There's going to be a spin-off series on HBO Max called Dune: The Sisterhood, which is going to follow the lives of members of the Bene Gesserit.
Okay.
And so, and that's going to come out probably around the same time as the sequel. So they really needed to establish some of the mythology of this group in the series so that could go forward as well.
Do you think that series is based off of some of the books?
I have no idea. I've never read any of the Son's books. The son of the author wrote, I want to say he wrote like 10 books, and I never read any of them. I've read all of the original series books, and remember them from varying degrees. I read all of them when I was a teenager, so it's been a few years.
Right.
Okay. So I do want to talk about the Bene Gesserit, because there's a lot of they're in this, but yet they're like, I don't know. I feel like they're almost, if it wasn't for Paul, they wouldn't be anything. My next question, and it's, I have this question twice, kind of. The first, let me ask both of them, and then explain where I'm coming from. The first one is, why is the Emperor jealous of who I call Poe? Because I don't know any other character's name. And then the second question is,
it's Leto, Duke Leto Atreides. It's the father.
Okay.
Leto. His mother is Jessica, and then he's Paul, and then the girl Zendaya plays. I believe it's pronounced Johnny.
Johnny, yeah.
Okay, well, she doesn't matter in this movie.
I mean,
but so why? So the first one is, why is the Emperor jealous of Leto? And then the second question is, and this I had to have written this one down because this word must have been used. Why does the Emperor fear the Atreides? I feel like they didn't really.
Let's have slept through that part, Chris, because they do actually explain that, and it's obviously explained much better in the book. But in the movie, they make mention that the voice of House Atreides is growing in the Landsrat, and they have a hierarchical society where you have the Emperor up here, but then you have all the great houses below him, which are the Landsrat, and they're what give the Emperor his power. So if they rebel, the Emperor loses his power. Well, House Atreides is starting to grow their voice in the Landsrat and become more powerful through strength, and just his honor and his nobility.
So what part?
On the other side of the coin, you have House Harkonnen. They are growing their power through brutality and the money they're making from mining the spice.
Right.
So the overarching theme here is that the Emperor sees a way to bring House Harkonnen down and Atreides down and keep himself in power by having the Harkonnen spend the money that they had to spend to bring all that military to bear on Dune to take it back from the Atreides. They diminish in their power and their strength. Also, by wiping out House Atreides, he wipes out a rival. Paul even mentions it towards the end of the movie. He says, why to what's the Emperor's representative, Dr. Kynes, Liet Kynes. He says, tell the Emperor that I'll marry, one of his daughters. He has no sons. And she says, that's not what the Emperor wants. The Emperor wants to take down those two houses.
Yeah, I remember that part at the end. When did they say that he was gaining favor with the other houses? Also, I was under the impression that there were only three. There was the Emperor, whatever the Emperor, and then the Harkonnen, and then the Atreides.
No, because there's like the Sardaukar. I can't remember what house they're part of. They're the Emperor's Blade, but they're their own house as well. I think there's like 13 houses.
So are you going off of? So now you're going off of information that was not made available to me in this movie? Because I'm a Dune normie. I watched the movie with Sting, and then I must have watched the sci-fi thing that they did. But I mean those were back in the middle 2000s.
Yeah.
When I watched that.
I think in the miniseries it was made more abundantly clear that there were multiple houses. In the books, they make it clear that there are houses. They describe the Landsrat as, and lay out in some detail what makes it up. In the movie, no, they say it, but they only say it once. And much like their explanation of the spice, it's not quite enough for someone to understand why any of it's important.
It's a little weak. Yep. Okay. Another question. Does anyone else think seeing bagpipes being played in the funny is hilarious?
Yes, I thought that scene was hilarious.
Yeah. When they were getting out of that ship, I just every time I see it, I just laugh.
I love bagpipes and I love violins. So anytime you work either of those things into something, I'll watch it. I kind of wish Star Wars had worked bagpipes or violins into something.
That would be cool. I mean, I will say though, the integration that they did use the bagpipes and then transitioning over to the actual orchestral set background sound, I thought that was really cool.
Okay.
I thought that was neat. Yeah. That's one of my my high points for the movies. Again, visual, but the audio as well. The audio design was really well done.
Well, and there's another thing. So they put that in there with the bagpipes and stuff. They cut out the point. At a point, you see Gurney Halleck open up a book and look down. It's a book of poetry, and he actually repeats some lines as he's walking with Lady Jessica, as they're seeing Dune for the first time.
Right.
It's character development that they left out, but they kind of put in. Here's this guy. He's probably one of the greatest generals in the known galaxy of Dune. They mention that some of the best fighters are trained by Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho. But he's well-rounded. He's a musician. He's a poet. He's a warrior. Which if you go back into days gone by and you look at people like Saladin from the Crusades, he was a Muslim warrior, but he was also a musician and a poet. He was one of the greatest generals we've ever seen, but he also was a poet and a musician. Sun Tzu, same thing. He was a great tactician and general. He was also a writer and a poet to a certain extent. So they try and tie Gurney Halleck into that group to give you a bigger vision of who he is. They just kind of they come a little bit short in showing you everything that they could show you.
Right, just because it was 2.5 hours long and they had time constraints.
Look, ask George Lucas, putting a 15-minute music video in the middle of Return of the Jedi when he got to remake it does not necessarily make it a better movie.
Right. Very true.
So let's talk about the Bene Gesserit. I've got some stuff on them. Like, what are they doing? Like, what is their role in all of this? And why does she trust the Baron? And like, what's really weird. So, do you guys remember that scene where like she's in there making a deal with the Baron, and then they're like behind that force field thing, and then at the end of the scene, she requested for them to spare Paul and Jessica's life, right?
Right.
But she seemed submissive to the Baron, and I'm like, wait a second, you're supposed to be a badass bitch, like you're to me at the beginning when she was torturing Paul, like like she's somewhat heartless and powerful.
That was a test.
Right. Fair enough, but it was a torture test.
Well, it was. They believe him to be something that is way more powerful than anything that's ever come before.
Right.
If he wasn't able to control himself, they were going to have to put him down and fast before he becomes too strong.
Right.
And you see that plays out over the series of the books and everything. She is a badass. She's the leader of the Bene Gesserit, and she didn't get there by being a nice person.
Right.
She is submissive to the Baron because in that scene, it suits her ends.
Okay. You froze there for a second.
So they do talk quite a bit in the movie about, well, not quite a bit, but there's the scene between her and Jessica where she explains that they've been breeding bloodlines for centuries to try and bring about the Kwisatz Haderach. And
I have no idea what you're saying.
Well, she calls him that. She says that Paul could be that. So that's their thing. They're trying to bring about the ultimate chosen one to that can see both forwards and backwards in time. It's a religious thing. It's
okay.
You have to remember when these books were written, it was at a time where certain religions weren't trusted, and so it was an allegory.
Has that changed?
Well, yeah, because it's not, now you've got Islam and they don't trust. This was back when they didn't trust Catholics.
I was thinking they don't trust. No one trusts anyone right now.
Well, that's true.
That's yeah.
I'm gonna go run some errands.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Chris. Sorry, I thought
No,
you had
it's-
me.
So that kind of leads into my next thing. So like these Bene Gesserits are powerful people. And from what I understand after a conversation I had last night, there's actually more to it than just the voice. There's supposed to be more magic involved here. But my next question, and we're going to kind of like move this along here, is how the hell did they get that gag? I must have missed it. Oh wait, maybe they were drugged. I didn't get the whole drink thing, but like, how the hell did they get the gag on Paul's mom, Jessica? Because like, if she sees someone coming, you're not
she
getting
can just use her voice, right?
They caught her while she was sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
they show that scene where they have the tiny little pills that help them sleep.
So I don't remember any pills, but I remember seeing a tiny little like shot glass thing.
Yeah, there was a tiny little. Yeah, on that little
the tray,
there was a little divot with a little white pill in it, and they gave one to Paul, and they gave one to Jessica and Leto. Yeah, and Jessica and Leto had 2 shot glasses and 2 pills.
And Leto said no.
Right, but Leto doesn't have the power, so if you take out Jessica.
Well, yeah, when Leto said no, that's when he got. Oh, I don't even want to talk about the shields. That's when he got assassinated.
Yeah. He woke up and walked out there, betrayed by their doctor who was supposedly unable to betray them, but he's been broken by the taking of his wife.
Right. Yeah.
Masterfully done in the movie too, because in the book they describe in great detail what has happened to his wife. Pieces of his wife have been mailed to him to try and break him and bring him back, to make him betray the family that he should not be able to betray. They eventually break him, and obviously he does. He doesn't get nearly the role he should have had. He's a much bigger character in the book.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have had to send me pieces. I would have done it anyways.
Like seriously, like bro, it's look. You don't look. You took my wife. I got it. I'll do it. Just stop.
Like I get it. Okay, so she must have taken those pills. I just didn't see her do it. Because that whole thing didn't make any sense to me. So let's just go ahead, move this along. My biggest gripe.
To quote another YouTube
I would
channel,
actually like to hear.
It was so they could have the movie, Chris.
Right. My biggest gripe on this movie is the ending. The setup for the fight was okay. Them kind of explained, like how what's really happening here. And the fight was whatever. I think the fighting style is weird. But I know that's a Dune thing. I remember thinking the same thing in the original movie, and I'm like, this must be explained in the book the way that they're doing this, because it's a different kind of fighting. Anyways,
different kind of fighting style. Yeah.
My big problem is Paul wins this fight. This is his first kill. He's a kid. He just participated in some sort of like holy
ritual
thing, and there wasn't much acknowledgement of what had just happened, and I felt like it kind of lacked a lot of the power, particularly for the climax of your movie.
I disagree. There's a lot of stuff that Jessica is saying and thinking that they shows that when Paul does that act of killing that person, Paul Atreides dies. He ceases to be Paul and becomes something else, which they'll establish in the next movie.
Right. When you say,
and the fighting style is based on the Bedouins. I mean, the Fremen are basically the Bedouins of the universe. They live out in a desert where there's no water, there's very little life, and yet they manage to not only survive but actually live pretty good lives out in the middle of a desert that, you know, I don't know about you two, but I grew up in the desert. 15, 20 minutes tops, and I'm eaten by a sandworm.
Right.
There's sandworms here?
There could be.
There probably is. It's just we've been doing the Phoenix walk, you know, Phoenix walk move where we haven't activated any of them, so you know we're fine.
So what did you think about the ending, Avery?
So I thought it was a good setup for what's coming next. I think that the way how it was interesting to me was the mixture of seeing the foreshadowing of Paul dying and then also seeing the mixture of the actual fight. It kind of threw me off a bit. But then once Steven just what he just said, it kind of explained a little bit, like, you know, Paul is pretty much dead and this is like a new awakened version. That kind of made sense to me why that foreshadowing existed and what was going on as with the fighting itself. I did feel that the you know, the fighting part itself, I felt like the acknowledgement after he defeated the guy was a little underwhelming. Like it just seemed like it was kind of seemed like, oh, okay, well, you killed a guy. Yeah, you're part of our group now, and then let's just go. I figured it'd be a little more ceremonial in that aspect of it.
And they skipped
what I
over
want.
that. They should have, because ironically, it's not the death of the man that would have upset the Fremen. Right. As you saw, they quickly moved in and wrapped his body in plastic.
Right.
What is the holiest thing, the most important thing to people that live in the desert?
Water.
Yes, water. And they actually mentioned that when they're talking to him, that you know to take Jessica and Paul and kill them for their water.
Yeah.
Could you imagine harvesting your dead people for water?
Man.
I mean,
I kind of feel
in 10, 15 years in Phoenix, we might have to start doing that.
I was literally about to say that. I'm like, I feel that's probably going to be a thing here in Phoenix.
Hey, we don't need to talk about the canal system and how this has already been done before.
Right.
By a previous civilization that lived here.
Right.
But there weren't 6 million of them.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do final thoughts.
Okay.
I can't wait for the second one. I thought the ending was weak sauce, but it left me wanting to know more about Paul's story. I think, yeah, I want to. I know what you're talking about when you use whatever term it is, the Mecha, when he becomes that thing of power that the Bene Gesserits are concerned about.
Well, they're also trying to bring about that person. They just thought he was probably centuries, at least many years away, but probably centuries away. Jessica was never supposed to bear a son to the Duke. She's not his, and that's something to bear in mind. She's not his wife. She is a consort.
Right.
Well, they call her the concubine in the movie.
Yeah, she's a concubine.
Okay.
And she was only meant to bring him daughters. There was supposed to be daughters to marry off to further that bloodline to try and bring about what it looks like Paul is going to become, or if you read the books, what you know.
Well, so I know that conversation you're talking about, which was at the end of him putting the hand in the box.
Madame Jabbar.
Yeah, and to me, what it sounded like is Jessica had a choice of whether she was going to have a male or a female. The way that
that plays into the magic you were talking about.
Yeah.
They have total and complete control over their bodies, so they have the ability to know those things.
Yeah, I thought I was like, that would be freaking rad. But
yeah,
right.
All right, so we are at just over an hour. Oh, Avery, final thoughts.
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it. Definitely left me wanting more. It's funny because with all of the foreshadowing that was happening within the movie, I wanted that. I wanted to see that, right? It made me interested. Like I want to see Paul's character grow out. I want to see this power come up as it's showing. So I'm definitely excited that the next part's been greenlit. I was a little concerned and worried that this movie would just be too artistic for people's liking and people would not watch it. But I'm glad that it's been greenlit. So I'm super stoked.
We haven't even really talked about the box office. It's not looking great, but they decided to do it anyways. And I think they did that. Steve and I talked about this, or we might have even talked about it last week. They probably they're using these movies to make stuff for their streaming services,
right?
And so that's probably why they went ahead with the second one.
Well, also, I mean, right now you can't take a box office as a sign of how well your movie realistically should have done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I believe there's a way now that most streaming services they count those, right? They count like how many times it's been streamed, how many times it's been played, and add that into their success. Or I would think they would, and not just go by just the box office. Because like you're saying, like in these day and age, you really can't go off just box office anymore with all the streaming services available.
Right. But unfortunately, we live in a day and age where there's 15 different streaming services and everyone gauges success differently.
That's not going to last forever.
So, monetarily, how much money do they make? Well, Disney can put a dollar amount on how much money they make on streaming movies through Premier Access.
Right.
HBO Max has the problem of how many people signed up just to watch Dune.
Right.
That wouldn't have signed up to watch Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
Or any of the other DC stuff that's coming out on HBO Max over the next year.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder to judge success, but with anything new, they're going to have to figure it out because they're going to have to look at that in their business model as going forward is people that watch stuff at home because that's where they feel comfortable watching it. I have a big TV at home. I'll be honest, I loved it on the big screen. My TV at home is a tiny bit smaller, but it's still quite large and quite good to watch a movie like Dune.
For sure.
What are your final thoughts, Chris?
My final I've already said I want more. There's a lot of foreshadowing that hasn't come through yet. The burning palm trees, like that whole bit with the burning palm trees, with the singed hand and all of that stuff.
Oh, the palm trees burned. They burned when when the Harkonnen stuff. Yeah, go back and rewatch it. You were probably asleep at that point.
Well, no, because I've watched it 2 other times. It's just I've got it on the screen while I'm working and stuff.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. You know what? I even thought about that when I a couple days ago. I was like, you know what? They probably burned when they came and attacked. But now I don't know anything about why they were holy or why they were special. Like that kind of seems like a waste. That whole part with him talking to that guy watering.
Life on Dune is precious.
Okay.
Those trees represent something.
Yeah, I thought maybe they might have served another purpose or something.
Yeah, no, they represent a higher, that life can survive on Dune.
Okay.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited. I hope they don't cut any corners next time.
Agreed.
I don't think they will. I think this is a tentpole film. It's always going to be, whenever this movie is made, it's going to be a tentpole film for a studio. They're going to put the money into it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. We're at almost an hour and 10 minutes, which is really impressive for a first show, if you ask me.
I could probably talk for another 2 hours.
Yeah, I've skipped about 6 or 7 of my other points. So do you guys want to say anything in closing, or should we just call this?
Go ahead, Steve. You can go first.
The only thing is, I'm looking forward to what's up next. The Eternals.
Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick.
We've got that coming. I've seen some Rotten Tomatoes stuff, but I don't lend any credit to that now in the day and age of bots destroying a movie before it's even coming out.
Right.
I got some.
So I'm gonna go see it. It's going to add to the mythology of Marvel. Not so much the superhero storylines, but the mythology of where the universe came from. And maybe, where some of these heroes that we're going to start seeing have come from. So I'm excited about that. And that's it. Go see Dune and get prepared. Get your tickets for the Eternals.
Yeah. No, to echo on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, and then I'll wrap it up.
Oh, yeah. To echo over, Steven's point. I am excited for the Eternals to come out. I think I'm glad to see not only Marvel but Disney expand past just grounded as Earth, right? Just actually expand out in the universe and show what Marvel all has coming. I do wish that they kind of integrated all of this mythological stuff earlier in the MCU universe, because to me personally, I'm a little burnt out as far as Marvel movies are concerned. I've actually, skipped a few. Like I actually have not seen Shang-Chi. Is it Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi's amazing.
I've heard it is. Yeah, I gotta go see it.
If you skip Black Widow, I'd be okay. But Shang-Chi is one to watch.
I skipped Black Widow. I was like, too late. I'm too late for that. She's already
Black Widow would have been a great movie
after Winter Soldier. After Winter Soldier, they needed that Black Widow.
Yeah, that would have been great, because that's when she was in the hype. Like that was like prime.
Well,
like,
and then that's when they did that. That's when they did that kind of like little bit of that backstory with her and the Red Door and getting a hysterectomy or whatever, the Red Room, whatever. But
missed opportunity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then
But anyway, to wrap up my points, go see Dune. Amazing movie. If you're a huge cinematographer nerd like I am, you will enjoy every single bit of it.
So we probably should have started off the show with this spoiler warning.
Oh yeah.
You should edit that into the beginning somehow.
I ain't edited nothing. I'll put it in the title. I'll put it in the title. It'll be Dune spoilers.
Yeah, definitely.
But
one last thing I'd like to throw out there. I mean, it's Halloween weekend. We're recording this. If you're not going to a party or if you're just staying in, watch Midnight Mass on Netflix. It is a twist on an old story. That my wife doesn't like scary movies. She generally refuses to watch them. We watched them well into the evening the night we watched it, and until we got to the point where we both decided, we wanted to watch it when there was the sun was out and it was safer. Great series. It's only like 7 episodes. They're about an hour and 15 minutes long, but worth a watch. Midnight Mass, Netflix.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go see the Eternals because we got to talk about it. Like what you said, Avery. I was kind of getting burnt out on Marvel back in Doctor Strange. I liked Doctor Strange, and I saw every movie with the exception of Captain Marvel. Through Endgame, and then I watched Black Widow, and that was a waste of my time. And I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet. I wanted to. It looked like Disney's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, maybe. But
if you have Disney Plus, it's coming out on November 5th on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
awesome.
You'll be able to watch it.
I find Awkwafina annoying, so we'll see if I can get past that. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you liked, leave a like, subscribe. This is actually on my channel, and that might be changing next time, so we'll see. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.